All right. Welcome, everybody. We'll start the ball rolling here. My name is Todd Korch, and I'm Director of Public Works.
I'm Brendan Ryan. I'm the Assistant Director of the Public Works.
Mike Myers with TEC.
So I'd like to welcome everybody back. I believe we met months ago when we were in the very initial stages of this project and had essentially just kicked off the design process. We've since, taken some notes from that meeting, brought them back. Mike and his team have done a fantastic job trying to incorporate different aspects and different points that were brought up during that meeting. We're happy to report that there were several things that he was able to incorporate. Now that we're at the 90% design benchmark, we feel it's a good time to meet, discuss, and hear any more further concerns and see what we can do or what we can't do at this point. We have since submitted our application to the state for the project through the Complete Streets program. It was a $285,000 grant submittal. So hopefully we'll hear back at some point soon from the state as to whether or not they'll entertain it, and hopefully for our sake, we can get awarded our third Complete Streets grant to be able to fund the construction aspect of this, construction portion of this project. So that said, I'll turn it over to Mike Myers. And before I do that, actually, this is being filmed from Westcat, and we will be obviously having public participation at the end of the meeting, though. Let Mike do his presentation. We'll go over all the points, and then at that point, we'll pass the mic around and go from there.
All right, thanks, Todd. So as Todd mentioned, the town about 6 weeks ago applied for some Complete Streets funding money from the state, and that money would take care of the majority of the improvements. They focus on the pedestrian, ADA accessibility, vehicular safety. The one component they typically don't cover, unless you're providing a dedicated bicycle lane, is for the pavement treatment itself. So similar to the two projects we've completed at High and Pond and High and North, the state takes care of the majority of the improvements, and then Todd and the town have worked to incorporate some funding for the pavement. I'm sure everyone's very familiar with this intersection. It's the main driving force behind this project has always been the sidewalk connection. Try to connect the sidewalk that ends here with the sidewalk that ends here. And trying to pursue state funding, trying to do it in a way that's strategic, and we try to couple that with some intersection improvements as well. So it's not just a sidewalk project. We're able to do some some limited improvements to the intersection, but improvements that will make a substantial impact out there. So the other major component you see here obviously is the slip ramp through here, through the intersection, vehicles coming through at high speeds. You've got three conflict points instead of just one. So the main goal is here, tie the sidewalk together, but also do it in a way where we can formulate more of a standardized T intersection, have a really short, reduced crossing across Winter Street, and get that pedestrian safety, but also the vehicular safety at the same time. Okay, so this plan will look very familiar from our meeting in February. Again, trying to tee up the intersection and remove that slip ramp and create some green space, some landscaping. Continue the sidewalk along here. Have a short pedestrian crossing to a pedestrian refuge island. Short crossing here, and then continue a new cement concrete sidewalk down to tie into the existing one there. This pedestrian refuge island is going to take that really wide lane that came through here, where you had the island here, and really shrink it up, reduce it, calm traffic as they approach. So that's essentially what you saw last time. Since last time, we've added some additional components. One of the things we heard was a concern for vehicles as they come up Winter Street to the intersection, and understanding that they're approaching an intersection and need to slow down. So we're going to look to install stop ahead pavement markings with a stop ahead sign right here, as well as some imprinted brick in the pavement, similar to what you see out in Canton Street. And then add a second stop sign. So there'd be a stop sign on the median as well as just on the outside. And then lastly, this is just a general warning sign that you're at. You've probably seen it in some places, but as you approach the intersection, it's going to make you aware that the intersection is there. The road is, Winter Street is essentially terminated. In addition to that concern with vehicles approaching Clapboardtree Street, we also heard some concerns about sight distance. So when cars are sitting here and they're trying to find their gap of when they can turn out to Clapboardtree Street, that when you look to the right, it's tough to see. So one of the things we looked at doing was taking this alignment and sliding it to the left a little bit, to the west, which didn't work because of, if you're familiar with this, the profile, the alignment of Clapboard Street, you're on a hill here. So if you're looking at, you're on a hill and you come down like this. As you slide it to the left, you go further down, it kind of drops the elevation. So now you're looking up into the curve. It actually makes it worse. So we didn't look to shift it. What we looked to do is take that profile, we pick this up a little bit, and we drop this down a little bit, about 6 inches to a foot in both locations. But by doing both improvements, we improve sight distance by about a couple hundred feet. That, as well as doing some trimming in this area. Pretty limited, you know, not looking to take all the trees and really disturb the area, but do some limited trimming and clearing in that area to further open this up a little bit. That's essentially it. It's a pretty simple project, and with that, if you have any questions.
Pass the mic.
Oh yeah.
Hi, David Warshay, the president of the Chase Estates Homeowners Association, which is essentially almost in a butter to this. My key point right now, I think, since the last meeting in February, that this project to me is really a must-do, a must-have, because since that time, the 40-unit townhouse community, you know, got approved by the planning board. And on top of that, you have next to the temple a group home for disabled adults there who are probably, you know, using wheelchairs. You know, that's part of the deal, which really makes this a necessity here, because you're going to have I think more residents on the soccer field. They're putting in, you know, 40 parking spots, et cetera. So I think there's enhanced field usage, more kids. Now there's going to be disabled, you know, adults here that, you know, given the $285,000, even if the town can't get the funding from the state, I think the town needs to suck it up, because there's going to be at least $500,000 a year in extra property tax revenue per annum coming out of the townhouse project once it's done. So I think this should be happening, whether the state, if the state gives the money, great, you know what I mean? 285, you take it, but if they don't, I still think this needs to get done at all costs. I hope folks agree.
Yeah, we definitely do. Over the next couple of years, the next couple of upcoming town meetings, we have proposed a road improvement bond that we will be taking on. It won't be next town meeting; it'll be proposed at the following town meeting. So it'll be FY22. So it's our hope that we obviously receive the funding from the state to do this project. If not, this is something that road improvement bond most certainly will absorb, along with a bunch of other sidewalk enhancements. So I'd much rather see the state fund this like they have the other two projects.
Right.
But if not, we have backup plan B and C to fund.
Because from what I gather from the developer, if all goes well, the summer of 2020, everything will be, you know, in order. Folks moving into the townhouses, the ball field, you know, ready, deeded back to the town, the group home under construction. So to me, there is some type of urgency between in a little over a year from now to have this in place. I think would be a great benefit all around.
And I will say the planning board is doing a great job as well in negotiating some sort of mitigation, sidewalk mitigation, that will provide us some funding to be able to extend that sidewalk from Winter Street all the way up to Colby.
Right.
So they're in talks right now with the developer to do so. So that would be a big, huge improvement as well. So.
Right. Last question, what about a couple of the low-hanging fruit items, like the stop sign warnings? I mean, you already saw you have that arrow at the end of the street, right? I mean, you could put a few of those signs up right now and, right, just have the crew go out there.
Yeah, we could do some stop ahead.
I mean,
signs
any additional sign right now is helpful.
Okay.
You know, on it for sure, and that's short money.
Yeah, And I know Mike and his team have done a fantastic job with this design. He refers to it as simple. It's not as simple as he makes it seem when it comes to line of sight issues and things like that nature. There are like minor little details that we have incorporated that I spoke with him this morning about with respect to recessed reflective lights on the ground. The reflectors that you see typically on, actually we have them on Canton Street. So at nighttime, that's a large concern with this area because it is an area that comes up on there fairly quickly. But with those recessed lights, you'll see the clear, distinct island in the middle. You'll see that there's something vastly approaching, and I think all these little things, as he refers to, create the big picture of a big improvement at this intersection.
Just to make sure that in the best case scenario, if the state funding, when would this, everything lined up, when would this project start and be completed by?
What would you say?
I'd say earliest would be in the fall.
Fall of 2020.
Would be the earliest, yeah.
Not fall of 19.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
It's fall
Yeah,
19.
this fall.
Oh,
Yeah.
this fall.
Yeah,
Fall
would
of
be the
19.
earliest.
Okay, that'd be nice, really nice. Right, yeah.
The bad news is we got pretty much turned down from the state with our last Complete Streets application because we were so successful in receiving the first two. So it was a new program. It is a new program. They want to give the other towns opportunities to receive funding. So we were looked at as, take a step back a little bit. So we did. Took a knee on the last round, and now we've since applied for this one. So hopefully they recognize that, and it's something that they can say, okay, well, let's give Westwood another shot at it again. And so
And how long is the estimated construction
on
time?
something like this, I would probably say 2 months.
Yeah.
Right around then, give or take. And if the paving overlapped into a scenario where we didn't, as a department, feel comfortable with temperatures not being conducive enough, we would just hold off on that portion of the
Right.
project, which, who knows, it depends.
Right.
Question, for the lighting on Winter Street, a lot of the telephone poles don't have lights. Is that we looked at as well? Sorry. Is that not allowed?
Isn't there one on the pole?
I'm not sure which,
So I
On
live
the
at 30
pole by the
Winter,
intersection.
like right across the street from us, there's no light there, and that's where both of these reflective stickers will be for the stop. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you're putting reflective stuff down at night, it's not gonna do anything except for the headlights probably, that maybe too
Where
late.
were you referring to? Just so.
30 Winter, so if you just, right where the stop sign is, right there, nope, down, all the
The
way down
stop
there,
ahead,
yeah.
down in
right
here.
here,
Okay.
right there. So that telephone pole doesn't have any lighting on it. I think the next one up probably does, I wanna say, on
There's
Winter.
one at the intersection that does, right? Okay.
Yeah, so it's just probably the last telephone pole before the stop sign doesn't
Okay.
have the light.
We can take a look at that.
Cool, thank you.
want to pass.
Explain to me again about the vertical alignment.
Sure.
Sorry, thank you.
There you go. Yeah, so if you were driving along Winter Street and you're looking at Clapboardtree Street, this is high up here, so it kind of dips down like this if you're looking at it. One of the things we looked to do was slide it to the left. That didn't work because the alignment's going down like this, so as we slid to the left, it actually made the sight distance worse. So what we did was picked up the profile in this area and then dropped it a little bit in this area, anywhere from between 6 inches and a foot. Not a substantial amount, because one of the things we talked about last time was if we were to drop this, if you pictured us taking the road and dropping it way into the ground and picking this way up into the ground, we're now trying to tie back into your property and having impacts. So it's a balancing act. The other thing is you have utilities in the road, so you can't cut the road by too much. So it's delicate, and we feel we did it as much as we could to get
This
the most
part
out of
here
it.
is gonna go down? You mean this?
Up here where it's high up here,
Yeah.
this will come down about 6 inches to a foot, and then this will get picked up by just a little bit. I can show you on some detailed plans if you'd like after.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Here, I'll walk that around.
Karen O'Toole, Briarwood Drive. I apologize because I was not at the first meeting, but looking at the map here, I used to go to Dedham Corporate Center to take the train into town, and I left at 6:30 every morning to take the 7:15 train, and that intersection was always backed up. Are there 2 lanes there for people who want to go right, or are all the people who want to go right going to have to wait for all the people that have to go left?
Right from Winter,
Yep.
there would be 1 lane.
one lane.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be a problem. Yeah.
Ed Ray, 209 Winter, basically a lifelong runner. But I go back to Franny Abbott, who was the chief of police. I noticed the current generation, a lot of bikes, a lot of runners use clapboard. And because 109 is such a nightmare, even on weekends, and even before the rush hour, starting after school is out, it gets very busy. And runners are out there going with the traffic, which is against protocol. And sometimes the bikers are biking in tandem. And I found myself having to go over the line in order to get by them. And we need to do an education whole program. I assume that'd be up to the selectmen, yes? Because it's getting worse all the time. And now with this, it'll change a great deal, because now instead of turning right, everybody's going to. I just see a lot of problems, particularly with these extra vehicles and pedestrians. So the mitigation is not with the road. I think the mitigation is with educating these people who are doing the wrong thing. But it's clapboard is a nightmare.
Thank you. Michael Kraft. Is this on? Hello. Michael Kraft, 30 Coach Lane, and chairman of the Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Committee. First of all, thank you guys for coming down. This is a great improvement for that very difficult intersection, which happens to be right down the street from our home, so we're quite familiar with it. The woman who made the suggestion or the concern about the having 2 lanes coming up towards Clapboardtree, I think is a great idea. It looks like we have room because you're taking away that sweep. So if you could add a right turn and a left turn lane at the end of Clapboardtree would be a fantastic idea. I haven't encountered that traffic, but I can certainly imagine it, especially knowing how much traffic there is on Clapboardtree at the 4-way intersection.
One thing that the triangle that is there now used to solve, because people were gonna go to the right.
They automatically.
Sure.
Right.
But now you're gonna have everybody backed up behind the people who are not gonna go right.
So the second thing that I want to ask is, if we're already going to start now doing a little bit of road project as well, seems like a golden opportunity to add a few feet of sidewalk at the same time, which would be most appreciated going down Clapboardtree, where there's currently none. And as was already pointed out, there are a lot of runners and walkers and bikers and dog walkers and baby walkers who use Clapboardtree regularly, and to the extent we can get any relief along Clapboardtree Street in the way of sidewalks, if it can be incorporated into this project, would be great. And finally, a bit of shameless self-promotion, since many people have already talked about, mentioned issues concerning pedestrians and bicycles. We would love to have you come down the 4th Thursday of every month. We're right here in this room, meeting to seek help on pedestrian and bicycle issues. So anybody who's interested, please come.
I just wanted, we live off of Clapboardtree Street, a couple of streets to the right of
Could you just state
Winter.
your name and address too, please, just so
Oh,
we have.
Deborah Kraft, 30 Coach Lane.
Okay.
I observe, because I've tried myself to cross Clapboardtree Street with at this point, a geriatric dog, and oh my gosh, it is a nightmare. And if you're disturbing that corner already from Winter heading up Clapboardtree Street, oh dear God, please put the sidewalk in, because between watching the high school runners who do a loop, they come out of the high school, they are risking their lives. I am just afraid that I know what's going to happen to get this funded. God forbid, is somebody getting injured. And then they can finally get on a sidewalk again once you turn onto Pond, and then they loop back. But it's frightening to watch those, and it's always a pack of girls, and they're trying to talk to each other, so there's at least 2 wide sometimes, and it's heart-wrenching to see what could potentially happen to somebody on Clapboardtree Street, and all it takes is a sidewalk to help. So.
That's along the south side. You're talking the south side to the west.
Yeah, I mean, if they have to cross, anything is better than nothing. So if it's only on one side and you're already disturbing that one corner, then continue it up on that side if that's easier. And then eventually there's a sidewalk again where Clapboard and Manhattan meet. So it's just a little further. So.
I agree. I mean, obviously, well, not obviously. I don't know how many of you have been to previous town meetings where I've tried to go after some funding or secure some funding to get some design of some sidewalks in town. With respect to this project, I couldn't agree with you more. The main premise behind this project is addressing this intersection and creating that connectivity that might, in the interim, create a different pattern for joggers to utilize and stay on sidewalks. You know, maybe the pattern comes from the high school, goes down Pond Street, then crosses over, comes up, goes up Clapboardtree Street to Winter Street, rather than have to go Clapboardtree Street where there's absolutely nothing. So, I mean, not that it's to pacify a situation by any means, because I feel as strongly about it as you do, but just in the interim right now to improve this intersection, to create that connectivity that could possibly promote different habits for runners, safer habits, is a huge improvement as well. But I hear you completely.
George Maloof, 54 Clapboardtree Street. Just a question, please. The red brick that I see laid out on the end of Winter Street, the driver responsible for the accident was on the wrong side of the road. Is it possible that red brick could be on both sides, both lanes? Just as for safety, again, the driver was on the wrong side of the road when the accident happened.
Canton Street runs on both sides. So, yeah, I mean, the point of Canton Street, the imprint on Canton Street, was just to identify you're entering a traffic calming neighborhood. So I don't, off the top of my head, I could probably say I don't see why that would be a problem or against anything, but we would obviously have to research that to make sure.
We can take a look at it.
But yeah, if it could be done, most certainly, it's.
David Warshay again. One just follow-up point regarding the right turn lane. If you're coming down Winter, making a right on Clapboard really makes great sense. I think Todd, you and your crew did an excellent job in front of Bubbling Brook. On when you have two lanes, making a right turn onto 109, eastbound and west. Having just one lane there would make things a lot worse in the morning. So having the two, I think, made a huge difference in that intersection in terms of backup.
Well, fortunately, Mike's team designed that, so we can see if that's
We'll have to take a look.
I think you guys did well on that one, and we, something that's similar makes a lot of sense for sure.
And it doesn't have to split into two till you get closer.
Right.
But at that point,
Right.
I would say you need room for at least 4 or 5
Mhm.
cars to be backed up.
Right.
Because that was typically what I used to run into all the time.
It's a great point. And if you see, basically, this is a cookie cutter of what we've done for enhancements at Pond and 109 through the Complete Streets program, along with North and 109, as David had mentioned. So it's really just lifting that design and putting it here, but it's a great point. And if that lane could be fit, it totally would make sense. So.
We can certainly take it. We'll take another look at it. I mean, one of the challenges you do have when you get them side by side like that too, if you're on the right and you get the car next to you to the left, you can't see by them to get your. So there is some benefit for sure, but we could have our traffic engineers. We'd probably have to get some data and do a little more analysis and see.
The other point is if you're making a left turn going down Winter, making a left on Clapboard with this new configuration, if someone's speeding down Clapboard, sometimes folks are going in their 40s and above, you lose probably a half second from right now. If the turn is closer, a little up the street a tad more, that you got to be a little extra careful. I think more warning signs are needed. On Clapboardtree, there's an intersection ahead because if someone's going 45 or 50, which folks do see on occasion, it could be a problem if you're trying to make a left turn. So better signage or even a rumble strip or something there.
Well, you have to be
Yeah,
careful
living
the
here-
rumble strip.
living for 24 years, I've seen everything there.
I don't know how the neighbor would feel about the rumble strip in front of his house, but well, put it in front of your house. We'll see how it goes.
Well, don't let people want speed bumps in Chase Estates. Don't even
Right.
start me on that one.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, we can look into all this. I mean, they're great points. You know, even the initial meeting that we had, that's why we have these meetings, because Mike's a great traffic engineer, but sometimes it's just a common person that comes up with a great idea that you're able to incorporate. And like I always say, if we can do that, that's awesome, because you guys are pumped up and makes our life easier too, so.
Right, good.
Michael?
David, you brought me a point that I should have made. My wife brought this up, which is great. Without having that extra right turn lane, left turn lane at the end, what's going to end up happening is traffic is going to start going through Della Park. And that's already a cut through, and there's a lot of young kids in that neighborhood there's no sidewalk whatsoever in Della Park, and there'll be, kids walking to school and stuff. So, yep, already doing it, and it's definitely want to do whatever we can to eliminate that situation. Her,
Okay.
all her. Anybody else?
Right up front.
Irene Brennan, 22 Winter. Following on the rumble strip issue, how much noise is going to be generated from the brickway?
It'll be very, very minimal. You wouldn't hear it. That was another great point brought up in the discussions that we had off of Canton Street when those were proposed. And the way that they're able to do the imprints, they can line them up so they actually go in sync with your the treads on your tires, that you don't hear them. They can do them opposite too, to create a rumble noise too, which you wouldn't want. We wouldn't do that. So.
Rob Stairs, 22 Winter Street, which is the first driveway on Winter Street there. Wondering what the general policy is on mailboxes. If you have a mailbox that's going to need to be moved because of the new sidewalk, on whom is that to pay for remounting it in a new location?
That's part of the project.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought you were going to bring up the winter. That was any other questions or concerns or thoughts? And I guess as always, you leave this meeting and sometimes you review the plans. This will all be posted on the internet, on our website, on the town website. But if you come up with anything or any great ideas or any further concerns, please feel free to contact Brennan, Mike, myself, any one of us. We'd be more than happy, and if you feel more comfortable coming in and sitting down and reviewing the plans, we can certainly coordinate that as well. So, all good? There's no Bruins game or anything tonight. There's no rush. This is good.